Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Resto Mod Daisy. Today we're here for a long form video on a topic near and dear to my heart and also near and dear to the hearts of my viewers, if the amount of email I get on the topic is any indication. Mainspring compressors. The Daisy, the mighty Daisy BB gun. A simple mechanical construction that has brought thousands, millions of hours of joy and enjoyment to their young shooters and old shooters alike. But, there comes a time when you have to take your Daisy apart because, seals don't last forever. They do wear out. Sometimes you need to get an air tube popped out of there and take something else and stick it in. And to do that, you've got to take the gun apart. And this is the part of the project that always causes the most trouble for most people until they've done it a few times. And the main problem with that is that there's not a readily available, affordable hand tool that will let you get the job done. Characteristically, ever since I've been involved in modding daisies, you made most of your own tools yourself. It was one of the rites of passage. This bad boy right here has been around for years. It is a simple piece of wood with two pieces of welding rod that had the composition beaten off of them because they were about the right diameter. And you can see from the tips there, they've been flattened to help them grab the spring because it's a wiggly little boy. She'll pop out and pop in and warp and bend. And as you can see over the years, being used pretty heavily, it's affected a set. So now it's a little tipped in here, still a little base there. It still works though. You can still take a daisy apart with this without too much trouble. Now this was another iteration I built in order to get away from the waveability issue of the prongs, but as you can see, it's a little easier to hold as opposed to the original, and it uses steel slats that have been tapered so that it will fit around inside the receiver and over the back end of the plunger assembly. Now we'll get to the plunger assembly in just a minute. All right, and this is yet another iteration. This is sort of like the uber cheap, don't spend very much money, probably can find this as a piece of scrap laying around the house. And you'll note that they share similar features in that they're two prongs. And the prongs have to get past the back of the plunger assembly and also fit inside the receiver. Now these all work well, but they do have limitations. The dual prong will work on any daisy there is. The spade styles, the tab styles, the slab styles, whatever we're going to call that, they'll work very well on the current production guns and any gun that doesn't have two rivets on the back. But wouldn't it be nice to have something that worked well on everything? And this particular tool was built by one of my viewers, sent it in for an evaluation, wanted my opinion on it. Told him, yeah, I'll be happy to take a look at it. And right off the get-go, I realized that he had made a couple of product line improvements. First off, the handle is probably a better fit for more folks than not. The second thing is he went with a larger steel rod, not terribly large. I mean, let's get a mic on it real quick. As you can see, this thing is working at about 160. Yeah, right at 0.16 inches. Now, the original stick welding rod is about 1.2, so it's a little thinner, but not much. But that additional thickness and stiffness will help, and you'll see why in just a minute or two. So with these rods in this grip, and he's also got his measurements down pretty fine. He's got center to center at right at 5/8, where it's supposed to be. So it will pass the back plate. So now I'm talking about back plates. What the back plate? Let's take a look at the plunger. Plunger assembly is a pretty simple item. That's the back plate. For any of these to work, they have to slip past the back plate and get up on the spring and compress it so you can remove the spring plunger. So they've all got to do that one thing, Now, the plastic on this setup does okay. The spade gun on this setup does okay. And of course the original tool on this setup does okay. Where you run into problems in plunger land is that plungers are in the cutaway we got the current edition plunger. That's black. It's painted. This was an earlier edition plunger, something post 1978, until they went to the black paint. This is pre-78. And the reason you can tell that is because it has a straight back plate. It's straight up and down versus being at a slight angle. But both of these only have one brad. So 1 brad, 1 foot. And here's the oldest back plate. This is what you'll find on, 11140s, guns of that vintage. Guns from the 30s and 40s. You'll see these 2 studs. Now, the 2-stud back plate on the older daisies is problematic. The reason for it is the spade style mainspring compressor will not fit over them when they're mounted inside the gun's receiver. So these don't work inside the gun's receiver. This does work inside the gun's receiver, but because the guns themselves have pretty punchy mainsprings, it's a devil to use. I don't know how many times I have nicked myself with this thing trying to get a mainspring out. And that is the crux of the problem. So in terms of one tool that would work on all 3 styles of backplate, the only one I've seen that makes that halfway comfortable is this one here. Let me give you a demonstration real fast. We'll pull the old cutaway down and we'll show you how this works out. When you install your mainspring compressor, you have to do a little wiggling at this phase because you're inside the gun. So the clearance left, right to the outside wall of the receiver is not that great, but you still have to get past the back plate to get to the plunger. And now we're having a problem with that. All right, there we go. So now once we get past the back plate and we get bite on the mainspring, then you can use your mainspring compressor to compress it. And once it gets compressed, it's pretty loose. It'll pop right out if you took it out. Hell, I might be able to get it out with 1 finger. Ooh, 2 fingers. Can I do it? Can I do it? Ha! We did it. And then you can remove your mainspring and your plunger element and get whatever work done you need done. So, basically, the conclusion of what we're talking about here is this is a pretty nifty tool. What does it cost? I have no idea. Where do you get it? I have no idea. I do know who made it, and I do know who sent it to me. And based on a lot of y'all's reactions to this, I might make that information available publicly, or see what he wants to do if he has a demand that he wants to supply. Well, that's it for Mainspring Compressors today, kid. That's all we've got for you. This is Shane Bruce with Rest of My Daisy, signing off.